So what I'm doing now, I'm thinking about the priority of what I'm doing for the day and what I'm going to get out today. One of the things I consistently find with software, if you're an engineer, it's very, very easy to get lost in the sauce with tools. It's much like the same way that social media is designed to pull your attention away with little dopamine grabbing posts. There's a sense in code and in programming that if you're not constantly looking to upgrade your tools, that maybe you'll be losing time or something. There's like this vague sense, and so there's all these tools that are asking for 10, 20, whatever dollars a month for you to use them to theoretically improve your workflow, to theoretically get some 1% gain on you outputting projects or making this thing that hurts called development somehow better. But it's mostly an illusion. What you really should be doing is to be good at a handful of core tools. Be good at your main framework. For me, that might be Node. Your front-end framework, pick one and stick to it. Next.js is a great choice these days. You should know your way around a SQL query. And these days, you should be using tools that help you steer LLMs to generate the bulk of your code generally. You should be stepping in to debug, to think about how things are overall architected, and to make sure that there aren't horrible edge cases in the generated code that you're creating. But nowadays, everyone is more of a code manager than a code writer. And that's kind of the way it should be. Your experience should be in debugging, architecting, developing requirements. But the reason that the indie maker space is becoming popular these days is because of the LLMs, because people have just gotten so much more productive. Back when I started writing code in 2016, I think a lot of us started with the indie maker dream that, I'm going to learn how to code and I'm going to make my own product and it's going to generate tens of thousands of dollars a month and I'm going to be good. And I just want to manage some small product, or if you're more ambitious, I want to grow some unicorn or whatever. I want to go to Y Combinator and attract a lot of investment and, kill myself working for VC guys. But you would find if you started as an indie maker to get a product at the door that it was just very hard. It just took a long time. So you didn't have an idea, spin up a product, have it on the web, and test for buyers and get on to solving the marketing problems. You would spend months building a thing. And this wasn't true for some people. There is like a 0.01%. There are 10x developers who are just way better at this than the rest of us, that can just produce code and spit out projects, and they don't know why it's hard for the rest of us. Those guys exist, but it's probably not you. It's definitely not me. And so that level of productivity, that 10xer programmer productivity that used to be reserved for the most dedicated, most talented, whatever, is now more broadly available. And so now we're seeing all of this experimentation with the Levels IO ecosystem and all these other indie makers that are popping up, people that are giving business advice and things and products. But anyways, I digress. It can be easy to lose a lot of time writing code to nowhere, studying frameworks. I just lost a few days last week when I was diving into new boilerplates, and I had rolled my own auth service that I like, that worked just fine. And then I started getting insecure as I was playing with Next.js and looking at how NextAuth worked, and I was spinning up new boilerplates and trying to think about a slight variation on the authorization scheme that I was using, and I kept running into build problems. And at the end of it, I'm like, man, I did not get anywhere near as much out of these days and the end of this week as I did at the beginning when I made, a tool to write books, and then I added some subscription stuff onto my consulting website because, just running with that idea that take whatever your core consulting service is and productize it. So I was experimenting with that, and I got a lot more done on those days when I was more in the headspace of rolling my own and playing with the tools I know and having a conversation with the God box, the GBT as it were. I got a lot more out of that than I did investigating tools. Now more than ever, investigating tools in boilerplates is a bigger waste of time than it ever was. Your LLMs can spit out whatever you need the way you ask for it, and you should be good at debugging a core set of tools. Now more than ever, get your stack as tight as possible. Have the fewest technologies possible, because that's going to be easier for you to talk to your LLM about. It's going to be easier to debug. You have a better chance of developing competence with a smaller set of tools than a bigger set of tools. And you want, roughly from project to project, to be using the same tools so that when you switch contexts, it's easier to debug, not harder, because you're not using a different technology or an API you forgot about or something like that. Anyways, that's a message for today. Don't waste time on random boilerplates and frameworks and new tools if you can avoid it. Sometimes it's necessary, but most of the time it's not.